past ministers or preachers have sat down among. I don't want to break our circle. I'm feeling just warm and good. So if you don't mind, I'm going to sit down here to give my sermon with you today.
I like circles because we communicate better. We see faces.
Good. And I can see yours.
Yes.
And I can also tell how you're responding.
Yes.
So with that, on Labor Day, I was at the Buffalo Museum of Science with my two children, Max and Ayla, who aren't here today. They are 8 and going to be 5. And they were playing in the wind machine, which some of you may have done. And while they were doing that, I was looking at the erosion table and looking at some of the facts that were on there. And one of the facts that struck me was that water is an absolutely finite resource. In fact, what it said was, all the water that our Earth has is already here on our Earth.
Right.
And I thought about that because, A, I'd never really thought about it. And of course, I was thinking about water because I've been writing this sermon. But it struck me, all the water that we will ever have is already here on the Earth. And I started thinking about this, like, you know, an expanse of our neighbor lake, and the oceans, and of course, the rains, which we all had yesterday, and the snow. Lots of snow, which hopefully is not coming back here again in the degree that it did last year. But I just never considered that when I thought about our environment and our world, that our water is an encapsulated entity, and that it cycles through all the other elements that are on our Earth, and it remains. It made me afraid as I realized that being such a finite resource, that it can also be destroyed and never regenerated. So it gave me pause to appreciate what UU seminarian and activist Elizabeth Mount did when she, along with 20 other activists, scaffolded down on the Portland Bridge to stop a Shell tanker from going up to Alaska to engage in activities that would endanger our waterways. Protecting our waters, honoring our water. It's part of our UU tradition. It is part of our 7th principle. Respect for the interdependent web of all existence, which we are a part of. And today in our water celebration, we did just that. We celebrated our water and we connected ourselves using that source. But water has a place in all our faith traditions and practices. And partly because it has 2 qualities, 2 scientific qualities. And it transcends any other element, which is what makes it different and makes it amenable to all different beliefs. Water purifies and water cleanses. And with these 2 traits, we use it as a purifying method, whether it's in other faiths when we talk about baptism or we talk about renewal, and also as building. It builds our bodies, but it also builds our community. And that's what we did today as we put our water into the font. Used as either a source for ritual or as a presence for or creation, water is the universal unifier of cultures and faiths. Some examples. Judaism, which finds root in the Torah, the sacred text, for the use of water in ritual and for cleansing, is used to participate both as a practice before being involved in a Shabbat or other service. It is also used as part of a mikvah. And a mikvah is a very special sacred bath or immersion that Jewish individuals go through, again, to purify themselves prior to their inclusion or involvement in an activity, such as might be a marriage or a naming. This week begins Rosh Hashanah, a very wonderful holiday in the Jewish faith. It is the new year. And part of that celebration is something called Tashlik. And Tashlik is where Jews cast out their sins into a flowing body of water, usually using breadcrumbs. And so, in so doing, they use the water to cleanse, to purify, to make themselves worthy and whole, so that come Yom Kippur, which ends the days of awe, they will be worthy to have their name inscribed in the book of life. The Bible also gives power to water. The story of the great flood, which is told in Genesis, talks about how God destroyed humanity by sending the great flood, and only Noah and his family and pairs of animals survived. And afterwards, God promised that he would never destroy the earth again, and he sent the rainbow as a sign of that covenant. Other faiths that incorporate ritual washing include Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Islam, the Baha'i faith, Shinto, Taoism, and the Rastafari movement. In Islam, the 5 daily prayers are only done after there has been a cleansing to purify before engaging in such prayer. And Shinto, which is Japan's indigenous people's religion, it is based on the veneration of the kami, the innumerable deities that are found and believed to be inhabited in mountains, trees, rocks, springs, and other natural phenomena. Worship of the kamis, whether public or private, always begins with the all-important act of purifying the water. And in fact, inside many of the sacred shrines, there are troughs for ritual washing which are placed there. Waterfalls are also held as sacred, and standing under them is believed to be an act of purification and connecting to a spiritual soul. Tibetan monks, upon completion of the beautiful sand mandalas, and recently there was one done at the Unity Church in Buffalo, after they create them, they brush them away, all gathering a ball of sand, and that sand is ceremoniously then placed into a flowing stream of water so as to connect the elements of earth again. Almost all Christian churches or sects have as an initiation ritual involving the use of water, baptism or christening or naming. And this comes out of the origins and symbolism of the Israelites being led by Moses out of slavery in Egypt through the Red Sea, and also from the baptism of Jesus by John the Baptist in the Jordan River. Water is featured in the Buddhist funerals, where water is poured into a bowl that is placed before the monks and the dead body. And as it fills and pours over the edge, the monks recite, "As the rain fills the rivers and overflow into the ocean, so likewise may what is given here reach the departed." And in community acts of remembrance, we see water as a symbol. On Friday, some of you may have watched the commemorations that took place in New York City, in Washington, in Hubbardston, Pennsylvania. And what struck me was I was watching the service in New York, and the beautiful fountain, which carries the names of all of those who perished. And then the water flows from that into what seems like an endless cavern. And that water just continues to take the spirit, to take the memories of all of those, regardless of race, regardless of faith, regardless of background, unifying and bringing them together in that space for all to be remembered. Water. It also has a place in our consumer life. Water is a commodity. Do I have mine under? My bottle of water. I never had that when I was younger, but now bottles of water are everywhere. It can be packaged, it can be sold, it has names, it has fanciness. It can go from 79 cents over at the 7-Eleven to $3.20 for a fancy French bottle with God knows what's inside, but it's guaranteed to make you healthier and better. It's a commerce, and it's because water is so scarce. 70% of the Earth's surface is covered in water. 97% of that water is unusable. It is salt water. We cannot use it for drinking, for crop irrigation, or for most industrial uses. And of the 3% of the world's resource that is left, only 1% is readily available for our human consumption. Rapid industrialization, increased agriculture use contribute to the worldwide shortage. Areas that have experienced such water, and we've heard that today mentioned, for California, which is experiencing drought. China, Egypt, India, Israel, Pakistan, Mexico, parts of Africa, and again our United States, inclusion of California, Colorado, Las Vegas, and most of the East Coast. Pollution, improper water management, environmental disasters like oil spills have all affected our availability of fresh water. And so, the market exists. For water filters, water bottles, water distillers, and that's just us. On a worldwide scale, it is stated that the control and use of water will one day determine the ultimate power of this planet. But before it gets too out of hand, let us honor, respect, and consider that the water that is being fought over by nations is the very water that unifies our customs, our beliefs, our rituals, and our observances. And in the scientific realm, the water that we witness today has been witnessed through the ages as it is passed across our earth, manifested in other lands, blessed by other faiths and peoples, and has flowed like a river of peace in our souls, so be it.